evening, everybody. Welcome to the March 22nd, 2021 regular meeting of the City of Coolidge City Council. I'm calling this meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Sienna, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Eric Daniels.
Present.
Councilmember Tina Kaufman.
Here.
Vice Mayor Steve Hudson.
Here.
Mayor John Thompson.
Here.
Councilmember Jackie Henry.
Here.
Councilmember Ben Navarro.
Here.
And Councilmember Tatiana Murrieta.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, it looks like if I can find it, the first order of business under presentations, proclamation for National Library Week 2021. To read the proclamation. Whereas libraries of all types are at the heart of their cities, towns, schools, and campuses, serving their communities. Whereas libraries are accessible and inclusive places that foster a sense of belonging and community. Whereas today's libraries and their services extend far beyond the four walls of building and everyone is welcome to use their resources. Whereas for people lacking broadband at home, libraries provide access to computers and Wi-Fi, even checking out internet hotspots and laptops. Whereas libraries strive to develop and maintain programs and collections that are as diverse as the populations they serve and ensure equity of access for all. Whereas libraries offer opportunities for everyone to explore new worlds and become their best selves through access to technology, multimedia content, and educational programs. Whereas in times of crisis, libraries, librarians, and library workers play an invaluable role in supporting their communities, both in person and virtually. Whereas to adapt to our changing world, libraries are expanding their resources and continuing to meet the needs of their patrons. Whereas libraries are cornerstones of democracy, promoting the free exchange of information and ideas for all. Whereas libraries have long served as trusted and treasured institutions for all members of the community, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or social economic status. And whereas libraries, librarians, and library workers are joining library supporters and advocates across the nation to celebrate National Library Week, now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor John Thompson, proclaim National Library Week, April 4th through 10th, 2021. During this week, I encourage all residents to visit their library online to access resources and services. Because of you, libraries transform lives and communities. I don't know if there's our librarian. Did you want to say anything, or? Thank you and your staff, and I thought I saw Ricky come in at some point.
He's
Thank
over
him
there.
for doing a good job at the library, but go ahead, Joyce.
Sure. Thank you for recognizing National Library Week. As with every department in the city, this has been a real year of transition for the library. And we're happy to report that people are coming back to the library, people are using us. Unfortunately, the Florence Library has not been able to open to the public, and we are serving a large group of people who normally would have gone to Florence. And we frequently get thank yous from people not only within Coolidge, but also from Casa Grande and Florence, thanking us for the collection of material that we purchase for the library. So I want to thank each of you for your support. Without the City Council's support and without the City Manager's support, and obviously Ricky, my my director's support, we would not be able to do what we do. I am really proud of one statistic. After many months of pulling my hair out, we finally were able to go live with our extended Wi-Fi signal. People are able to access the Wi-Fi now anywhere within the city block of the library, so along Central, along Main, and all the parking lots behind the library. The month that we went live with that signal, our Wi-Fi usage went from 535 people signing into our Wi-Fi in a month. The next month it went to 2,000. And I emailed the county librarian, and because it was exactly 2,000. And I emailed him and I said, is this a correct number? And he said yes, he had confirmed it. So we know that there are people that did not have access to the internet prior to going live with this Wi-Fi signal. And we know that we're serving the community. We're providing services for students who don't have Wi-Fi in their home. They're able to come over to the library, sit at a picnic table, or park in the parking lot and be able to access their Wi-Fi whether we're open to the public or not. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joyce, and I want to thank the members of your library board. They've
Yes.
done an excellent job, and I think you're right. With that Wi-Fi, that I think indeed helped some of the students at some of the local schools. They were having a hard time getting on anywhere, and now they can at least go there and get on. So it's been very beneficial to a lot of people to do that. That was an excellent idea, and opening that up really helped out the community. So
Thank you.
thank you.
The library and the Friends of the Library.
Friends of the Library, that's another group. Okay. Move into monthly report by the Coolidge Chamber of Commerce. Lynn?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Our numbers are going up as well. For December and January, our reinvestments were 25 and 9 new members. The new members were Rush Air Conditioning and Refrigeration, Remax Solutions, Pinal County Gem and Mineral Society, Blossom Digital Marketing, Arizona Federal Tax Service, Indian Skies RV, Hayden Building Corporation, Allstate Community Partners at Anthem, and Brennan Pool Care. So we're excited because we've seen a lot of new membership coming in. Shows more people and businesses coming to our community. Our visitor count for December and January was a total of 770. 723 were local walk-ins. In-state was 34. Out-of-state was 26. And most of that happened in January. A total of 321 phone calls. As of the end of December, in 2019 and 2020, we were down 45% in visitation, but we already see it coming back up. Some of the things we're doing right now is we're shooting videos around the community to show why it is good reasons to live in Coolidge, do business in Coolidge, and visit Coolidge. So we'll be coming out with that real soon, which will be really exciting. The next phase of our marketing is interviewing local businesses. And we're really excited about how that's going. So you'll be hearing a lot out of the chamber here real soon. Was at the Pinal Partnership meeting last Friday, and I tell you, lots of compliments on Coolidge from the builders. It was about home builders in the area, and they love doing business in Coolidge. We are a community of pro-business, and they're selling them as fast as they're building them. We started our luncheons back again, as you know. In January, we had Nicola, and in February, we got to know our new county supervisor, Kevin Kavanaugh, and this month we had Senator T.J. Shope for our March luncheon. Looking forward to April, where we'll have our mayor, State of the City, Been getting lots of calls on that already. No pressure, Mayor. And then we want to remind the public that they can join and watch this video Zoom meeting, but they do have to register. Upcoming events, we have the grand opening for the print sign and Express of Coolidge. They're taking over Spectrum's building and going to continue on there. You'll see a lot more services available. That's going to be Saturday, April 3rd. And then, of course, the State of the City with the mayor on the 21st. And for more detailed information, you can visit our website at coolidgechamber.org. Any questions?
Do you guys have any questions?
Well, thank you.
Tatiana? Then I do have one question. Do these visitors come in like in December and January, or any of them coming in because they just relocated to Coolidge and they're trying to get information on what's
Yes, we are getting that, as well as people looking, believe it or not, things to do. So they are out visiting out of states for January. Just for out of state visitors was 21, and in state, they weren't local, was 26. So up from 8 and 5 of December, so. But the locals are still coming in and getting what they need. But yes, they do. We're working on a packet that we can give to new residents.
Good.
So, thank you.
And the ruins is still, admission still free?
Yes, it is.
If you can make it through the road construction?
Actually, the roads are all done.
It's done now. Okay.
Yeah, and it's beautiful out there. It's a nice, smooth, easy-going road.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. We'll move into business items for consent. We're all aware of how they work. Let me ask first, does any member of the council want any of these items pulled off for individual consideration?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to pull 11 because I'm going to abstain from voting on that item.
Okay. Anybody else? How about up front? Okay. Then I'll start with the rest of them. Item 5, consider approval of reappointing Olivia Guerrero to serve on the Transit Advisory Committee through January 1st, 2022. Item 6, consider approval of entering into a third amendment to intergovernmental agreement between the City of Coolidge, Town of Florence, Pinal County, and Central Arizona College for regional transit service CART. Item 7, consider approval of purchasing up to 10 transit bus shelters from Arizona Correctional Industries, utilizing 5339 grant funding to purchase the shelters via state set-aside contract. Item 8, consider ratifying and approval of applying for the 2021 OPSG grant funds from the Arizona Department of Homeland Security in the amount of $272,801 to be used for overtime, mileage, and equipment for Operation Stone Garden details. Item 9, consider ratifying and approval of submitting a Proposition 207 funding grant application to the Governor's Office of Highway Safety for $66,325.54 for the purchase of a DUI and traffic enforcement vehicle. Item 10, consider award of a bid to Playcore Wisconsin, Inc., doing business as Game Time, in the amount of $69,058.12, utilizing impact fees for the purchase and installation of a playground structure at the Artisan Village, and approval to enter into an agreement between the City of Coolidge and Playcore Wisconsin, Inc., doing business as Game Time, for purchase and installation of the playground structure. And item 12, consider approval of claims for the month of February 2021.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve items 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12 as read.
Is there a
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. I don't see any favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Moving to item number 11. We'll note that the Vice Mayor is going to opt out of this item. Consider approval to unfreeze the capital budget in the amount of $24,953 to purchase one 2020 Ram 1500 truck from Garrett Motors for the Parks Department.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yeah, we went out to bid for a parks vehicle that was funded in the 2021 fiscal year. We did only receive two bids, one from Garrett Motors and one from out of town. The second bid was, I believe, somewhere between $7,000 and $8,000 higher than the Garrett Motors bid. So we're just requesting to purchase that vehicle from Garrett Motors.
Okay, does anybody have any questions?
No.
Any up front? Tatiana, nobody? Okay. I don't have any. I looked at both the bids. There was, the third guy never even bid.
Yeah, I sent out even more feelers, and three companies got back to me, three dealerships, with interest in bidding. The third guy, by the time, and still to this date, hasn't sent me anything. So.
Okay, we'll go with what we got. All right, then, if there's no further discussion, I need a motion to act.
Mayor, I move to approve item number 11 is read.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it.
Thank you.
Moving to business, regular items. Item number 13, notice of intention to increase property tax for the fiscal year 2021, 2022, discussion and action. And before we get going, Mr. Garcia, that's you. You're always so happy when you read this one. Please let the public know while you're on there that the notice of intention to increase property tax doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be an increase. This is something that by law you have to do.
Mayor, members of the council, that is correct. So as we're getting into March and April, it comes budget time. One of the things that's changed this year is we have to now post a 60-day notice in the event that the council decides to raise the property tax levy. And so what we're doing right now is just putting that notice of intent out. It doesn't mean you're doing anything. We just have to post it just like we do any fees. So I believe Mr. Lapaya was up here not too long ago, and when he discussed pool fees and we had to put it up, it doesn't mean you're going to raise it from where it's at. It doesn't mean you're going to do anything. We just have to put a notice of intent out. So that's what this is. What I did attach is 4 different options that we could have. And I'll go through those real quick just for the people that are here and answer any questions you guys have. Option number 1 is obviously why we have to do the notice of intent is the max allowable rate. That rate would go from 1.7595 to 1.8336, and that would increase the dollar amount that we receive for that levy by $131,854 over the prior year, which is a difference of about $16 to a house valued at $100,000. Now, one thing that the public should know is when they say a value of a house at $100,000, it's not what you can sell it for. It's not what the value of your property is. It's based on a valuation, and then it's actually, you only pay 10% of the assessed value goes towards the tax rate. So 10% of your assessed value goes towards the tax rate, and we issue that levy on top of that. So it's not $16 on a house that's valued at $100. It's $16,000 on the assessed value of $100. So the assessed value again is about 10% of the total value. The second one is option 2, which would be the max rate with no TNT. So even if we do this and we post this notice and we raise it to an amount that requires a truth in taxation notice, which we have to do another, post it in 2 weeks, have a public hearing, and do all this and all these other ARS requirements, we still have to post this. So the first 2 would require a TNT, or the second one doesn't require TNT, but we still have to talk about it now, and we'd have to talk about it then. That would go from 1.7595. The rate would actually drop to 1.6725, but our amount still goes up by $37,000, and we would be required to do a TNT. We wouldn't be required to do a TNT, but we still have to post the levy or the notice of intention to raise the tax. Option 3 is to keep the rate the same. This would require truth in taxation. The rate would stay the same, but we would get $88,362 more over the prior year. Again, this would require truth in taxation, even though we're keeping the levy rate the same, because property values have increased and the value of new construction that's being added into that. Option 4 is if we receive the same amount, we wouldn't have to do any of this and we would go, but we would receive no additional funding for any of the new houses or new construction. So, and our rate would drop to 1.3090. So, one of the things is we have a lot of growth. I mean, you can ask Gilbert, and he'll tell you that his department's pretty busy. So we got a lot of new houses. Likewise, we have a lot of new area that we got to cover. We need a lot of things that go along with that, and this is unfortunately how we pay for all that stuff. So, again, I'm not asking you to make a decision on anything tonight. All we're doing is asking for the okay to post this on the website. To tag team with this item, looking at just a preliminary budget schedule for you guys, the city manager and myself will go over this. We've kind of talked about it. Looking at coming to you guys on May 10th and May 24th to review budgets. And then in June 14th, we'll drop the tentative budget. So that's why we're doing this now, is because we have to have this rate up and have it posted as an intent before we start doing those budgets. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have about the levies or the notices or anything like that.
Yeah, Gabe, so you're talking about it is based on the assessment that the county assessor sends you every year.
Mhm.
I think it's in January you get it.
Yeah.
So on Zillow, my house, they say I can probably sell it for $180,000, but the county assessor values my house, I think, at $76,000. So my taxes are based on the $76,000, not on the $180,000 that I can sell it.
Actually be valued on probably more like 8,000 or so, depending on when they divide the rate by 100, and there's some calculations that go into it, so it's actually less than even the 70,000 compared to what you see on Zillow. So yeah, that's correct.
So it's not, I mean, you have an example of a $100,000 home, but it's based on what the county assessor sends each property owner of what they say their property value
Right.
is worth.
That's correct. And the reason we say on a $100,000 home is that's what's required by statute when we do all of our notices. So it's kind of similar, and you can look at it any other city or anything like that. It's all just to keep it all relative, and so there's comparing apples to apples when you look at that. So
So like on my house, my bill might go up $10 a year, which is probably 75 cents a month of my payment, something like that.
yeah, if we went to the max amount, you probably wouldn't be far off. I mean, it doesn't translate, and it's not as scary as it sounds, but I mean, obviously it is when you're talking about raising taxes. So, you know, the legislature wants people to know that, and so that's what we're doing, is making sure everybody knows, and this is why we do what we're doing now.
Thank you, Gabe.
No problem.
Gabe, just a quick question. I hope you can answer this. Do you know when the last time that the city raised the taxes, property taxes?
That's Councilmember Henry, Mayor. This is kind of a tricky question, because you can raise the rate, or you can raise the levy amount, which is actually raising that, and we haven't done that since, I think it was probably, I would say like maybe 6 years ago or so, something like that, somewhere in there. I think that, yeah, there was a chart that went around, I think, that year that we did that. So that was the last time we actually raised the levy. Ever since that year, the levies actually went down because we kept the rate the same, or we kept the same amount, and so either the amount went up that we got, or the rate went down to receive the same amount. So we may have received more property tax but kept the same levy, but we haven't raised that levy. I want to say like it's been like 6-7 years maybe. I'm not sure. I was here. I wasn't a finance director then. I know that.
Yeah, it was actually the second year that I was appointed and took a seat that was vacant, and then I ran for election. It was the second year, because that's when we started the street projects, Mayor, and we did the tax increase to start the street project to help pay for that, and I believe that was probably about 8 years ago, Mayor.
And to keep in mind, that rate, I remember the rate. The rate was 1.9692. Again, our rate right now is 1.7595. So the contra thing is, from back then, we had a higher rate, but we're bringing in more money now, even though our rate's lower. So there's kind of an inverse relationship between property values and tax rate. Okay, so as your values go up, usually your tax rates fall, because that's there's state law and everything that protects everybody in between. So we're kind of on the other side right now. Property values are rising, so you're either seeing rates drop or stay the same. In some cities, they find it important to use this money to fund things, like for salaries or operations, things like that. So that's why they raise them to keep up with the growth. I mean, obviously we have new people coming in, we have more people to serve. So, it just depends on the leisure of the council at that time when we bring that to you guys, when we bring the budgets to you on where we see revenues going and where we see the needs of the city.
Okay, I appreciate that. I just wanted the citizens to know that it's been a while.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yes.
I can look at that and tell you guys when we do the budget, but like I said, it's been a while. I know since I've been here, this will be my third budget here, I think, and I know we haven't done then, and I don't believe you did it the 2 years while I was gone, so I mean, there's 5 right there, I think, so.
Well, Gabe, when we start going down that road, and we can look at it, how little it is, I think we need to take a look, overall tax rate assessment. So when you come back and you want to talk about taxes, then you throw in a sales tax rate too that Coolidge pays, and where we rank around with everybody else in this area on our sales tax and our property tax and secondary property tax, if there is, we do have it. And let's take a look at the overall tax bill, if you will, because I know that when people move into a community or they're looking at moving into a community, that they look at the tax rates. And you and I both know that people look on social media all the time to see what these tax things are, and we hear about it all the time. Now, we haven't raised it. One of the things that you can address right now is when you look at property taxes, do most of the sales tax that the city accrues goes directly to the city? Is that correct or no? I
No.
mean, we do get our part.
So our sales tax rate right now is 10.2% for retail. The city gets 3% out of that.
Okay.
So the other amount split up between the county and the state. So I believe the state gets the biggest piece. It's 5.6, and then there's a road tax in there that just got passed. There's also county money, but the city rate on transaction privilege is 3%. So we get 3% out of that.
Can I say anything under 10,000?
Right, because anything over 10, it goes down to it drops down.
So what about property tax?
Property tax, we get whatever the rate that you set on there. So in property tax, we get the least out of property tax. There's a lot of other things. One of the things that we did pass that we'll be talking about too, that I'll get to here in a second, is we have a secondary property tax now, and that's for the pool project and the Northern Avenue. So there's that. But normally, there's a school district, there's us, there's CAVIT, there's the county, there's a flood district that you pay, a fire district, I think there's a fire services fee that you pay. So there's a lot of things in there, and I want to say, just off the top of my head, I think it might be, of a total property tax bill, we get less than like 12% maybe, I would say. That's an estimate right now. I know we have a graphic that we usually show during the State of the City that breaks that down. I haven't completed that slide yet, so I don't know that right off the top of my head.
And do our citizens pay a property tax to anybody else? Do they pay it to the county, or do they pay it?
That's part of the property tax, yes.
So,
Yeah. So, and then they pay it to the school
now,
districts, yeah.
We
And
don't
the college.
Yeah, the college. So they're paying a number of different property taxes.
Yeah, but the only part that would be our section would be this part. So whatever the 1 point, whatever we decide to do. The one thing we look at is our rate has typically been higher than a lot of people, but when we look at our property values, they tend to be a little bit lower. And then you look at revenue sources, I think, too, is an important thing to look at, is other municipalities may have other money coming from prisons or different things like that we don't have. So when you look at sources of revenues, I think that's where we have to look at, too, is not only just rate-wise where we're at, because it's hard to compare apples to apples because of their makeup is different than ours. Whereas if we look at, when we talk valuations, that we look at valuations and see how we stack up. I mean, our valuations are rising, but, before we had growth, I mean, they were kind of, my house here was a lot cheaper than my house in Anthem, so.
Okay.
I did have one question. So if I read this right, the majority of this money is going to go to public safety, correct?
I mean, that's usually what we say this goes for, because it's the biggest portion of our budget. When you look at our budget, public safety would be inclusive of fire and PD. They're roughly 50% of our budget. And when we look at our revenue stream, you look at property tax, it doesn't even come close. But and even property tax. So when you look at that, the majority of the money usually gets attributed to, for general fund, usually gets attributed to PD and fire. So, I mean, that's typical for every city. It's usually around 40% or so. I think we're about 45 or something like that. So that's about the same everywhere, 45 to 50, I would say.
I know it's weird.
So, but yeah, I mean, usually when you do this, it's usually one of those things where most of it gets attributed to that.
Yeah, so we've been annexing a lot of stuff, and everybody's spread pretty thin from PD, fire, public works. They're all spread thin, so
Yeah.
that's why I'm wondering where it's going.
Yeah. So, and anything you guys would like me to bring back when we actually start the budget things, I know the mayor, you've asked me for a couple of things. I'll make sure to have that. If there's anything else you guys want right now that you can think of, right now would be a good time. That way I can have time to get it ready. I mean, we're coming here pretty quick, and then you'll probably get tired of hearing me talk. So, because we'll be sitting in budget meetings.
Okay, anything? All right, thank you, Gabe.
Thank you, Mayor.
Number 14, huh?
So we need action. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess we do.
Mayor, I move to approve item number 13 as read.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion, and Sienna, it was a tie. Choose your second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you guys have it. Item 14, ordinance number 21-04. An ordinance of the mayor and the city council of the city of Coolidge, Arizona, rezoning a certain parcel of land consisting of approximately 4.75 acres more or less, located at the northeast corner of Randolph Road and State Route 87 in Coolidge, Arizona, which is legally described in Exhibit A. Okay, Gilbert.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Hudson, council members. This is a request to rezone 4.75 acres from agriculture to general industrial 2. This is on Randolph Road on the northeast corner of 87 and Randolph. This is part of the property that belongs to Stinger. And what they plan to use this property for, they've been using it for some storage, but they plan to use it for receiving. So if this is approved, the next step is going to be to come in with a major site plan, to planning and zoning, and do some upgrades in that on that property to be able to use it. And so we have you can see the property on the, it was up there, that thing appeared. So the only questions I had from across the street, Brighton Village just called and said, what are they doing? And we told them, and they're cool with it. They didn't have any issues, any comments. And all that area you see on the west side and actually on the east side of the tracks is all the general plan calls for industrial. So this is in line with our general plan that the citizens adopted years ago. So I'll answer any questions you may have. Tim and myself are here. Do you have anything?
Anybody have any questions?
No.
Front? No. Well, I don't really have any. What are they doing with it right now? That's not where they're parking. All the Stinger guys are parking, is it?
No, Mayor,
It's farther north, isn't it?
Yeah, Mayor, that's true. Yeah, right now I think they're just storing some panels for the wall that they just have sitting there right now at this point, but eventually they'll be using it for receiving. So they don't have people and actual inventory being shipped into the yard where there's a lot of activity. There's equipment running back and forth and everything, so it makes it safer.
Okay.
In planning and
That's where
zoning,
they did that wall demonstration project when we went out there for the border security.
Yeah, I guess they won't need that anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then if there's no further discussion, then I need a motion or
Mayor, if there's no further discussion, I make a motion we approve ordinance number 21-04, please.
Second.
Councilmember Eric Daniels,
Yes.
Councilmember Tina Kaufman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Steve Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackie Henry,
Yes.
Councilmember Ben Navarro,
Yes.
Councilmember Tatiana Murrieta,
Yes.
and Mayor John Thompson.
yes. Thank you. 15, ordinance number 21-05. An ordinance of the mayor and the city council of the city of Coolidge, Arizona, rezoning a certain parcel of land from single-family residential R1 to multifamily residential R4, consisting of approximately 10 acres more or less, located west of Arizona Boulevard between Seago Avenue and Palo Verde Avenue, which is legally described in Exhibit A.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Hudson, and council members, again, this is a request to rezone this property, as you stated, from R1 residential to R4 multifamily. There's currently multifamily existing to the east of this property, right next to it, so it's in line with that. This property complies with the general plan, so this zoning designation is approved in urban neighborhood. It allows for multifamily. We had a couple comments, just a lady over on Palo Verde. She was just concerned about the apartments, but we told her that we're going to have a site plan meeting once this develops, and that's where all the concerns about any sort of height requirement or anything like that. A lot of times, as you've seen other developments, they may set back the 2 stories further back so they don't hover over the houses, and so there may be a buffer there for sure that's required by code. So those things will be answered at the site plan portion of it. This is just the rezoning for this property. The Planning and Zoning Commission held that public hearing on March 10th and recommended approval to the City Council for the zoning. And answer any questions you may have.
Well, Gilbert, I know that it's a long ways to go, but I mean, you know, they're building those on the other side of Vacahan right now.
Yes, sir.
Could that product be similar to that? Could it end up that way?
Mayor, it could be. You know, what happens is the size of the property dictates how they develop and what the developer wants to do. So as long as they meet the requirements for parking and all the different things, there's a formula we use to look at that. There's a lot of likelihood it'd be 2-story, but it could go 3. But we'd make sure in site planning that we would make sure that it's buffered against the neighborhoods that are there. And in that property over across the tracks, there's nothing close by, so
Is that okay? So it's set back. It's not going to be directly on the boulevard.
no.
So they're going to have to worry about how would you enter that property then?
On Seago?
Of the Seago?
Yeah, it's on the northeast side. You can go in that way. That'll be the.
So that's going to be the only way in and out for like if there's a fire or something.
That could be. That's the main entrance to that. There's also an easement on the west side for a future road that if it seems like it's needed, we could do that. You can see it right there. The team's pointing out at the red dot. So that could be. It's not in right now, but it could be put in. We have the right of way for that.
I would vote yes, but I mean, did the fire chief give a look at this? No, I mean, I think you ought to have at least 2 ways in and out of anything we've got.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, Mayor. Once the site plan comes in, it'll have all those details. They'll work it out.
I just want to make sure because I see somebody that lives in that general area sitting in the front row there, and while she didn't say anything, she will if she's not happy with it. So I'm just concerned that first I was concerned with ADOT because they have been really not our best friend when it comes to some of these things coming out on and off onto the boulevard or Arizona Boulevard. But I think we need a couple ways in and out in case what if the first place there catches fire and it spreads and our guys can't get in. So I'm just concerned about the safety of any project, not just that. But I'm going to vote yes if it comes to that to move it forward. But I just want it noted. Nobody did this. P&Z looked at this, right? And there was no issue for any of them, huh?
No, not the. I mean, we had the comment from the height, and then somebody else just asked about the roadway potential going up, and we answered that. So, if that's needed, they can talk about that during site plan.
I was just curious on that. I mean, because you know how these taller apartments are thought of over here on the south side.
Mhm.
Well, I guess they'd be right over here now, from where I'm
Right.
sitting. But yeah, so we still hear about those.
Yep.
So, but whatever they do, I just want to make sure they have, a couple ways in and out, so
Sure.
we don't have any issues with safety.
Yeah, during the site planning process, we'll involve the fire chief and Matt with engineering and public works. Everybody will be at the table to look at this project, and it'll all be taken to a public hearing with planning and zoning, so the public can comment.
All right, I was just making sure.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. If I may, just briefly, I think, these are very good comments that are being made here, and one of the things that maybe for the record tonight is, as part of the site plan, even though we're not talking about that tonight, is that road coming off of Coolidge Avenue, could extend beyond this site, even further south. You see West Palo Verde Avenue, and you see Verde Lane. Eventually, that road could come all the way down there along the west side of this property, and as part of that site plan, we'd very likely require a dedication of some roadway there along that frontage, and have that continue on down eventually to serve those other areas, so you don't have one way in and one way out on Palo Verde Avenue and West Verde Lane either.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you guys work out, and the fire chief certainly can speak for himself. He does it all the time, but I just wanted to make sure that, in my opinion, we need a couple ways in and out of anything that is built here. So, but go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, Gilbert, on the west side of that property, that's farmland right now.
Councilmember Hudson, that's correct. Yeah.
So I'm sure eventually somebody probably will be looking at that, buying it, putting up houses or future growth there.
Mayor Thompson, Councilmember Hudson, or Vice Mayor Hudson, we have had inquiries from the owners about potential uses for the future, so they are looking, for what to do with that property as they go forward. It's still agriculture at this point. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Where were you saying that there was other multi-family close by?
Mayor Thompson, Councilmember Henry, it's directly to the east. See that pinkish looking area there? That's all. That's all multifamily.
Oh.
What happened to your red pointer, Gilbert?
I think Tim has it and he wore it out.
Okay,
So that is, okay, so off the boulevard, you got the blue strip there, and then you got multifamily?
Correct.
And then this was single family, and you're one, okay.
Yes, it'll have multifamily in in the area. There, the front towards the boulevard is commercial. I believe it's commercial already, right? Yeah, so there are other plans for commercial there. It's being marketed right now, which is a good buffer between the boulevard and multifamily. Which there seems to be the market, there's quite a need for multifamily. I mean, everybody that builds them so far, they've been snatched up really fast because of the cost of housing and just the need for, a starter place to start and people moving into the community. Everything we've seen so far supports the multifamily being here, along with single family and, the other things that you've approved.
I don't know, I just got concerns. If you've got people that are interested in that farmland, and they're gonna do single family, and you got single family everywhere else, I'm just not sure that multifamily would be the best thing right in the middle of it.
Yeah, and I think, they utilize whoever purchases it'll use the market to see where they believe the use is going to be, which is, the urban, that's the beauty of the urban neighborhood designation, the general plan that Rick, when he was plan director, and Tim created, because it allows the flexibility, so it doesn't lock you in. So if the market changes and it shows that more multifamily is needed, then you could do that. And if it shows that there could be R3, which is a little more dense, you could do that and buffer it. And so it allows you that option. But that property to the west has not been changed. It's still agriculture at this point.
Now, my only concern, which we're not talking about right now, is how many stories it was going to be, how tall it was going to be. Like the mayor pointed out, the 3 stories that are sitting over here. I've never been a fan of them, but that's something that's going to be talked about down the line. So that was really my only concern, is if it was going to be as big as it is over on Baki Inn, I think that's just too large of a project for that particular area.
Mayor Thompson, Councilmember Navarro, yeah, once we get to that process of the site plan, that's where we'll be able to see, based on the parking, number of units they want to put in, the density, whether that would even be allowed. And there is as long as it meets the height restrictions and the parking requirements, we look at all that. It's a kind of a ratio we look at.
Okay, anybody have anything else up front? Or Yep. No? Okay. All right, if there's nothing further, then I guess we need a motion to act.
I make a motion we approve ordinance number 21-05 as read.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Sienna?
Councilmember Eric Daniels,
Yes.
Councilmember Tina Kaufman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Steve Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackie Henry,
No.
Councilmember Ben Navarro,
Yes.
and Councilmember Tatiana Murrieta,
Yes.
and Mayor John Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're into the report from the council and the mayor. We'll start down here with Tina.
Not a lot to really report or add this week. I did notice that the sidewalk across from Imagine School, the concrete got poured this morning. I know there was an initial delay because of weather. The concrete company canceled, but that concrete was poured this morning. Hope the little gremlins over there don't go put their little fingerprints and footprints through it. I wanted to, but I resisted the temptation.
Thank goodness.
Right? And I also wanted just to extend my sympathies to the folks at New Bill. Borgards, who was our city code enforcement officer, he was a dear friend of mine, very close with my family. He was like a grandpa to my 2 little grandkids. So my sympathies and what, I don't even know what words to say. He will be missed, truly. He was a wonderful gentleman, kind, true heart, a very rare individual in today's environment. So he will be missed.
Thank you.
I echo Councilmember Tina. It's very sad, and he will definitely be missed. And I would also like to send out prayers for the officer at the AJ Police Department. His father used to be a police chief here. I did talk to him today, and his son is doing well, as can be expected, but we need to keep him in our prayers too.
Just driving around town, seeing the public works guys are out there, still working those roads. Looks very good out there. I've been down many of them, even out by the swap meet. You guys are doing a good job of getting that prepped. I know everybody's itching to have them done, but seeing a few roads myself, I know you guys are doing a good job out there. Looks good. PD's been hot on it. So is fire department. I mean, you guys have been out there. I see those guys everywhere. So you guys are doing a great job. Keep it up.
Tatiana?
I have nothing to report.
I just want to say, I mean, over the past couple weeks, the poll's been progressing pretty well. I think the slide went out this last week. Very exciting. I know it's June slated to open, so that'll be exciting. Other than that, nothing to report.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
I have nothing to add, Mayor.
Mr. Miller?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we got EUSI under contract to address and evaluate the wastewater treatment plant concerns that have been expressed to many of you about the odors. I'm learning a lot about our wastewater treatment plant and some of the potential areas that are causing that problem. Mayor and I went out last week and visited with the consultant, and it seems that they're narrowing it down some of the items that need to be refurbished to reduce the odor concerns. We may be doing some chemical injection into the force main and trying to figure out some ways to reduce the hydrogen sulfide buildup along that force main. A number of things are going to come to light here pretty quick, I think, in terms of costs to address these issues that need to be addressed. And so we'll be making sure as we look at our upcoming budget moving forward, we'll try to use as much as we can impact fees that have been collected to soften the cost to the general fund. If there's anything associated with the growth and the increase of effluent related to that growth, we'll use those impact fees to soften the burden to the city. We're going to hopefully be getting some information here pretty soon from the state, I think, that's going to be receiving the funding through the federal stimulus. I'm kind of hearing some rumors about the amount that the city potentially will get. Don't know that we know right now that there is a recipe on how those monies can be spent, but we're kind of awaiting that information. So a lot of activity going on, as has been mentioned, with the home building, the nickel plant, just a tremendous amount of activity. We're trying to keep up with it as good as we can. Also, on behalf of the employees in the Development Services Center and all city employees, we are going to very much miss Bill. A very good man, a kind heart, and a real loss. And we pray, especially for his wife and family at this time, and his work family here too. That's it, Mayor.
Well, thank you, everyone. There's not much I can add. Bill was a friend of mine. We used to go to the fly-ins, so I will miss him. He did a good job for all of us, and I will miss him. But they'll let us know when the service is, if there is a service. These days, you don't know if there will be or not. So hopefully somebody will let us know. I think things are going well, pretty much for the city. I went over and the streets are all torn up. I don't know how far we're getting on Northern, but I know we have some timelines that we got to meet. Maybe you can update us on that a minute.
I can, Mr. Mayor. I know that, first of all, I'd like to extend our appreciation to the Arizona Water Company. They volunteered a backhoe to pothole the location of the irrigation pipe that's underneath the road. They did that because they knew we were pretty short-handed with the road crews, and so they did that as a favor to the city, and I want to thank them for that publicly. Those potholes were done. There was pipe put in to allow Cairo Engineering to go in there with their surveyor and measure the depth of the irrigation pipe, and from that they should be able to put together the engineering design plans and begin estimating the amount of material, the cost of that material. Obviously, San Carlos Irrigation Project will be putting in, or they would be paying for the material under this kind of agreement that we've reached with them. We would be paying through our Hayden, the cost of putting that material in the ground. So things seem to be going well. I'd like to see it move a little faster, honestly, but we are kind of at the mercy right now of Cairo and San Carlos to get this information done so that Hayden can begin their work.
And that was, thank you for that, Rick. That was one of the things I wanted to let everybody know, that we are looking to do that because they are supplying the pipe or the materials.
Yes.
And the contractors that contracted to do the job will be actually installing it, but we're waiting on them to get done so they can tear up the road and install the pipe.
Correct.
Okay. And Councilman Daniels said June. This project is supposed to be done, I guess Ricky's gone, in June, right, Gabe? May? Okay. So.
Yeah, the Northern Avenue project, I think what they told us, Hayden said once they got everything going, it'd be about a 2-week period for them to kind of get in there and get the pipe redone, and they need to get after it pretty quick. Otherwise, they may have to delay that portion of the project. Might have to come in separately because they committed to a certain price for Northern, and if it doesn't get done within that period, we may be looking at having that's, I think they refer to that as the Pima lateral. It's on, actually, south of the Pima lateral, it's northern. All those subdivisions in there, which you live in, I have property in that area as well. They all depend on that irrigation water, and I think just because of the lake levels, at the San Carlos Dam, the allocation of that water is going to be practically nothing this year from what I'm hearing. It doesn't mean that next year the levels might rise up if we get a little better rain, but I think a lot of people do depend on that irrigation to preserve the historical integrity of those neighborhoods over there. It's just a beautiful neighborhood. A lot of people have great lawns and mature trees, and it sets it apart really from other neighborhoods. So I think it'd be difficult to basically do away with it altogether. I think the school district also uses the irrigation there for some of their fields. We do as well for San Carlos Park and the adult center, and so it'd be pretty hard to get to do away with it. Yeah, it's a good thought, but
They have an irrigation district in that they would have to vote. That'd be the homeowners. So anyway, I just wanted to double check. Do we have any idea when they're going to start paving in that subdivision over there? Okay. So that certainly doesn't help the residents.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. Matt, I want to make sure I understood. Why don't you come up to the microphone real quick and take your mask off so I could hear a little bit better. I think his question is when they're going to start paving the streets in the neighborhoods.
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood.
But the rest of them.
The streets in Section 4 that are torn up that the city project is doing, we're going to be doing those the week of April 6th for the first layer, and then we'll jump over to 5th Street and do that the following week. And then the county has a project that they already had previously scheduled, and so we'll come back in the end of April to do the final chip seal cover, and then the HA5 in the first part of May.
Okay, and you guys are going to go door to, leave notices on
Yes,
the
sir.
doors? Okay. All right, just want to make sure they know what's going on over there.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just ask the public to slow down on those streets. Coming over here today, there was a vehicle that was just blowing down Pinkley, and it was creating a massive dust cloud. We can't keep the water trucks out there 24 hours a day. It does dry out, and if people just slow down in those neighborhoods, I'm sure the residents in the neighborhood would really find a lot of relief keeping the dust down. You don't have to go 25 miles an hour down the road, even though that's a posted speed limit. In residential areas, I would slow it on down even further than that.
With spring break, my grandkids are in the front yard in the swing we have out there. And that's all I need is somebody to lose control and come up on my yard, or one of my grandkids.
Okay, I don't have anything further, so I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you for coming, everybody.